Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I'm very excited to have this interview. Before we officially begin the questions and before we talk more about the art book, can you take your time to introduce yourself to the viewers? Tell us a bit about yourself, about your artistic journey, and how you became the artist that you are today.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for interviewing me, Oge. And well, my name is Ramón Núñez, also known as Ramón en el 90. I'm an illustrator and concept artist from Venezuela. Venezuela is in Latin America, for those who doesn't know. I started creating the traditional art when I was like 8 years old. And in my country, making comics and all those things that are amazing right now wasn't like a thing. So I studied graphic design after I graduated from school, in search for the money, let's say, to have a career, to have a professional career. And thanks to internet, to YouTube, to websites where artists share their portfolio, I get in touch to this concept art thing, that I didn't knew that exists. Kind of saw some, TV programs about the magic behind movies and stuff, and I have a sense that this industry exists, but I was very ignorant back there. So after I get in touch with that world, I start to, I would say, learn by myself. I wasn't very good at English, so I saw as many YouTube videos as I could, at least to see the process and trying to guess how these amazing concept artists from, I don't know, Star Wars, from these pictures, were creating their portfolio, and through that I use social media to leverage kind of like a networking thing in which I start to share my art every day, my practices. Of course, it wasn't very good back then. It was, I didn't have a good, let's say, uh, ground in which, base my direction. So I was just playing around mostly. I developed some kind of addiction to share my art in social media in a daily basis, trying all kind of different practices. So while I was improving in a way, I was also creating some kind of following because people like to stick to this kind of daily doses of art, random art, and back then people on Facebook were very active, and through that I managed to get some commissions until I got like the biggest job I've had in the industry, which was with Riot at the time. And after that job, I guess things were a little bit easier because like once you get some kind of experience from those kind of jobs, it's a bit less difficult to reach out to other proposals. And I guess my journey as an artist was pretty much an accident. I didn't plan anything. I mean, I had some plans. I don't know if you hear this joke that if you want to make God laugh, tell it your plans, and he's gonna laugh because, of course, you know nothing about what you're doing. But I will say that what really helped me get into this artistic career was a little bit of curiosity with the obsession. Not really was a thing of education, of knowing where I was or having a plan or anything like that, which I think it's great because I think most of the people are in that place and they get a little bit obsessed with this, I don't know what to do exactly, I don't know what's my plan. And for me it's like just do it, do something, and then you will fail eventually. Doesn't matter what you want to do, but through that failure then you're going to find out what is exactly what you want or what you don't want, at least, right? So I guess yeah, that's a summary. I don't know if that's a good summary, but I hope it makes
No,
sense.
it's a beautiful summary. Thank you so much for sharing. I absolutely love it. Every time I have interviews, this is a question I try to start with because it's always a very, I guess, insightful experience to see where the artists that we all look up to now how they begun and how they were able to, grow, especially for me, because like I mentioned, I'm from Nigeria. So especially for artists that are in similar positions to me, where they technically didn't grow up in countries, or where it was normal to become an artist, where if you tell someone you want to be an artist, it's like, how do you want to make money out of that? It's not really common. I love seeing and hearing their stories to see that it's possible, even if you're not in a in a country that like has the ability to do that, that you can still become an artist, you can still become what you want to become, you can still make it possible. So I love hearing stories like that. Thank you so much for sharing. That was inspiring to me, and I'm sure it'd be inspiring to people in similar positions listening to this. So thank you so much. I want to ask about your inspirations. You said you originally went into graphic design, right? But you right now you're in concept art and illustration and character design, and I want to know, obviously you definitely had some inspirations from that background that made you inclined to have this passion for especially character design. I will talk about your designs later, but then I want to know about some of your early inspirations and maybe your current inspirations now, and how you channel those inspirations into your work.
Okay, that's a great question. I think graphic design was like a choice based on the best option for my income, and in tune with art, and not precisely an inspiration drive decision. I think most of my inspiration I I gave to nostalgia, from actually that's why my name is N90, because it's well, N is my surname, and 90 is where, well, most of the I say entertainment from TV I got from, like Dragon Ball Z, um, I don't know, all the productions that Japanese animated studios used to do back in the 90s, late 80s. And it wasn't, but after like my job at Riot, after my 26, 27, I'm 34 now, is when I started to ask questions like, who are these guys? Like, I don't know why I wasn't that curious before. I don't know, maybe I've been more like an intuitive person, not very thoughtful. If I see something I like, I don't try to analyze it too much. Well, back then, and just trying to if I like it, I try to paint something like that. I try to get to that particular look by doing, not by thinking. That's like something new. I guess I would be in a better position if I started to think early in my life. I don't know. But when I start to analyze these people, these artists from Japan, most of them, like Miyazaki, Otomo from Akira, is when I started to actually understand the background on their work, like the way they approach reality by telling stories, by creating characters. And that kind of opened the door for me to analyze other artists as well. But I would say that my main inspiration are really I'll say from Japan, and these Japanese artists, mostly because, of course, these nostalgic memories I have from my childhood, but as well as the ethics that these artists have. They are very, I'll say, methodic and very disciplined. I don't know how to say properly in English, sorry, but it's like everything they do is not even the artist, it's the culture itself. Everything they do it the best they can. It doesn't matter if it's even like cooking, like whatever kind of job, they do it the best they can. And that's very inspiring to me. Like, I'm not saying we are in Latin America are not like that. There is definitely people who is hard work there as well, but this ethic in which you really need to give everything to what you do, and until your nose bleed, like Miyazaki said, it's very inspiring to me. It's very inspiring. And of course, there is plenty of traditional artists from Russia, from Europe, as well, that inspired those artists. The art that they create is an inspiration from this side of the world as well. But I don't know. I think I find storytelling through animation very powerful as well. Um, more than comics, more than books, more than any other form of storytelling framework. And it's because I think it combines audio, it combines movement. It's very it captures the attention and can present tragedy in a way that I don't think other, well, at least I haven't been able to feel with other kind of framework. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, I agree as well. Like, there's something about animation. It's a play of various things together that, can get a specific emotion if done well. So I agree. And I totally agree. The lifestyle, the ethics of artists, you could just tell even when watching a Ghibli movie that there's so much love and passion put into every single frame. I definitely, I think a lot of people felt that, and that's why they're such famous movies. So I agree with you a lot. It's so interesting to find out that the 19 year name was inspired by the 90s. That's a cool fact that I learned today.
Yeah, after you listen, it makes sense. After you listen, it makes sense, right?
It's like, some people just put a number because, okay, one or something, but there's a little
Well,
meaning.
that was the intention at the beginning. It's like, what do I put? Okay, put just a 90 because you're born in the
Born in Neddy,
90s, so
exactly.
whatever. It's
But
and
it's
after a
it's
while, it
cool.
started to make sense. I'm just trying to make it more profound. Just don't throw me to the street that way.
It's still, I'm gonna take it that it was like a meaning behind it originally.
Okay, let's assume it's really deep. It's like, oh, now it makes sense.
But thank you so much for sharing. That was very insightful. I want to talk a bit more because you obviously, so you had your inspirations, then you got your gig at Riot, and you're like, you know what, I want to do this more. I want to talk a bit more about that experience, like your journey as a freelance artist, a contractor. Like, how has that been? Can you talk a bit more about like how getting clients, working with clients, the whole process? Maybe for people who are like, okay, I wanna do what he's doing, but I don't really know much about it. Like, you said some people might just have an idea. Can you tell us a bit how your own experience has been, how your journey was, to social media and like starting a Patreon? How was all that process like to becoming like an independent artist?
Yes. Well, when I started, of course, I create a very poor portfolio because I didn't again I didn't had some kind of guidance, and I wasn't very thoughtful with my questions. So I also haven't. I didn't search properly because I'm sure it was in the internet in some website how to create a portfolio for concept art or something like that. But I guess I was young and I really didn't care. I just wanted to do whatever I want, which it works at some degree, but it's important to listen, for those who are listening and are young. So what I did was just to create a portfolio. It kind of inspired of other artists I like, and I start to send that portfolio. And of course, I didn't get too many gigs because it's supposed to be a portfolio. It's supposed to be an answer to the problem of the client, right? You are a tool for them, so maybe you assume that they are artists as you, they have your artistic skills and they can see that you're able to, let's say, achieve that goal because you have some knowledge. But if you have not proof to show that through your portfolio, they don't, perhaps they will not be able to see that capability in you, that kind of potential you have. So the best way of addressing that doubt is defining what's your goal. And by defining your goal is mostly I will recommend you to ask questions to yourself. What kind of things do you like? That's a question many patrons ask me, or artists in general. How do I start to build a portfolio? Like, what kind of companies I should apply to get a job and stuff like that. And it really doesn't matter what I tell you because it's supposed to be an answer based on the things that interest you. Because maybe do you like some kind of some kind of movie, some kind of video game, some kind of comics, whatever fields that you like. You need to make a list of those things and why do you like those things. And after you define a little bit what's going on with you, like what I mentioned to you for me about Miyazaki and animation stuff, maybe Do you like more movies that are live action? Like, okay, who create these movies? Who are the studio in charge of this? Who are the companies who create this kind of the groups, the productions, and the professional behind this big products, not necessarily a movie, but whatever it is that piques your attention. And through that questioning, then you start to make, let's say, a research of where you are supposed to send that portfolio. And through that research, it's gonna give you a few answers, like what artists work in that project in particular, like what are the portfolio of these artists, do they have an Instagram, do they have an station, where do I can find the portfolio of the guy who create the outfit of that particular character and that particular it's the point of creating a portfolio is not for you to sit in front of the Photoshop and create the whole thing or whatever software you use, but to make a little research about the direction you want. And if you're lucky enough, perhaps find out who is the artist behind of that production that inspired you in the first place, and if reachable, maybe write this artist down and tell him that, or tell her like why that you're a beginning artist, that if they can give you a little bit of their background. Perhaps the background is already in the Wikipedia. We don't know. Maybe if it's Miyazaki, of course, he's not going to answer. But at least you can have a sense of where is from where you can get this kind of source of direction. Like what did he study? Like in what company he created what he created? Why did he create that? So once you have done that research, that I don't know how much it can take for you, like a week or 2 weeks. It depends of how passionate you are and how driven to achieve that goal. Then after that is when you can start to create your own little project. Because what a portfolio is supposed to be, it's a display of your capabilities, of and how good are you to understand, how good are you at understanding what the task is going to be, right? It's not like, okay, I want to be concept artist, just character design, because I want to focus on character design only. Fine. But understand what it's supposed to do your character in that particular production. It's going to help you shape your portfolio in all the different requirements the other team members or the art director is going to ask you for, right? So let's say you need to become the studio, you need to be beyond the task, when you're overqualified, like, okay, this guy, even if your art is not very good, but you show that you did your job, you did your research, you actually develop a project that it can be a palpable, real product. The art director might see the potential you have, even if your art is not good enough, and can answer it and tell you, look, your art is bad, but you are in the right direction. Just keep trying. Maybe get in touch with this guy, maybe he can help you to deal with that stuff. So in that way, you're not just creating just because of create and just throwing out your efforts in a pit that you can see the bottom. But instead of that, you are addressing and you are directing yourself into something that can be achievable, and even if, because you're aiming to the stars, right? Perhaps you're gonna achieve that job into the biggest company ever that you admire since you're a child. Even if you don't get that, the knowledge you're gonna acquire after that exploration is gonna at least allow you to develop whatever you're trying to build in a different place for yourself. Like imagine that you want to apply for concept art in Riot Games. How about you develop one of the version of the game that you like, with 5 characters, with 5 backgrounds, with little like skins for each character. You don't need to make the tail render for each one of them. You can just focus on one single frame or artwork in which you can put all the efforts in terms of quality, and the rest can be just line out. So you make a displays of your skills of your ideas with a very simple technique, which is not easy, but it's simpler than rendering the whole thing, And through that, maybe you can present that idea. Imagine that you're making like a pitch for yourself. Like you can present that idea to a studio, and you can tell them, hey, how about we make this game alive. And if it's a project that maybe I'm becoming very ambitious in this particular suggestion, but I'm trying to explain the artists that they need to uh, push themselves a little bit far than what they think they should do, and that is going to put them into a better understanding of the problem they're solving, and the better they understand the problem, the better they can sell themselves, right? So well, I hope that I think I went a little bit long with that one, but I don't know if that answered your question.
No, definitely it did. It answered, like I said, it's every type of information is knowledge. And just like you said, I think the most important thing is really to ask questions. Like, ask
Right.
questions to people and ask questions to yourself. Because in the beginning, you said the first thing is to understand what you want to work on. Because I think a lot of artists, beginners, anyone just be like, okay, I want to be an artist. It's just like a vague, it's very vague. And they're like, okay, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that. Or, and when they even decide, they don't really ask questions, okay, what is concept art? That's why you see a common mistake I usually hear is like artists who want to be concept artists, but their portfolio is all illustrations, right? And it's not enough concept art, it's
Right.
not enough character design. And like, it's all about asking questions. It's all about like taking the initiative and like trying to reach out and like find your answers, because especially in the era of the internet, the answers are there. It's all there if you just take the extra step to look for it and take the extra step to try to understand more and try to stand out so you can like solve the problem, like you said. Thank you so much. Very, very informative. Once again, you did not at all like everything. You definitely answered the question, so thank you for sharing. um we've gone through your journey, your experience, your inspiration. Now we want to talk about the main topic, the main reason we're here, which is your art book. I am so excited. I am so excited. I love art books. I love collecting art of books specifically because, especially with social media, it can feel rushed, it can feel like everything is just all about like an artwork today and it's gone tomorrow, right? But an art book is a way to like have an
Mm.
artist's years of work in your hands and a whole experience, a collection. And it's just a different feeling being able to flip through the pages and look at art from, beyond the screen. So I'm so excited to announce your art book. I'm very excited for this. But let me not be the one to talk about it. I want you to take your time to introduce, just tell us a bit about your art book. Introduce your art book to us.
Okay, the name of the book is The Art of Ramón N90, Life in Every Sketch. Um, it's the first time I make a book, so I wasn't very sure what to do. I received the proposal from 3D Total team, and in principle I rejected because they kind of tried me a few years ago, and I wasn't very interested. But after a while, because I've been as well taking my time to create the habit of reading, I haven't been a very good reader. Um, I decided to dive in. I kind of dive in books more and more. So it was like, you know what? Let's try it out. Let's try this. This I think I've been creating articles in Patreon for more than 3 years already, and that give me a little bit of, I would say, a little bit of skills, developing my thoughts, and being able to say something valuable. I assume, and I was like, okay, well, it makes sense because I've been writing for quite a long, so at least something useful I can say in this book, like a compilation of all the information I've been sharing on Patreon and the advice I've been giving. The good thing about getting in touch with artists is that they kind of ask the same questions over and over, so you have you have a sense of what might be the doubts other artists have as well, and you can, if they like the answer works for them, then you can have some evidence that what you're saying makes sense. So I was a bit confident of trying out. The reason why this book, it's called Life in Every Sketch, is because I was thinking in well, names are very annoying, because you're always trying to put so much effort into like it's supposed to mean something, and I was like, how I can't put something that it's truthful, it's real. It doesn't sound cocky, or it doesn't. It's arrogant, and it's different, and pretty much all the names for books about art are taken already. So it's okay. Well, what's the thing most of the people say about my art? That it feels alive, because it has movement, it has expression, and it means that the title, as well as that life in every sketch is a way of taking what others recognize in your art, because you have this ideal goal when you create art, and of this concept you want people to understand from you, or whatever, and once you share it, people really don't take it the way you created. I don't know if it's only illustration. I think it happened even with music. Like, artists create this piece of music or whatever, and the people take it in a different place. Like, the thing take life by itself. So it's not about how I name it, but what it's supposed to be, what people see when they interact with my work. And that little extra, I would say, profound meaning would be like, well, I like to put as much effort as I can in every single thing I do. Um, I like always, like, one of my ideals is to be able to create art quickly, but it's impossible. Like, it doesn't matter how simple I want it to make the piece of artwork. I always end up pushing more and more and more until I hate myself, because it's like I need to finish this thing, and I just keep trying to make it better or something like that. So I do put a lot of effort on everything, even if it looks sketchy. I do try to make it as good as I can. So I think life in every sketch as well mean that. What other thing? I don't know. Plenty of meaningful things. I would like this title as well to to be attached to, but I will leave the reader to decide.
Yeah, I
I don't
love
know.
that. I love that so much. Yeah, and I agree. It's, I love the art is made to be interpreted. Like, obviously the artist kind of has an idea of what they want the viewer to feel, but it's always very interesting to see like how other people interpret your work. So I think that's a very, very creative take. I agree. Like, naming things are very difficult. One of the most difficult things for me is to name my artwork and or my illustrations. It's like so difficult. So but I think that's a very fitting name, especially for your work. As you said, very expressive characters, the movement, even like your sequential art, everything just has so much storytelling, so much life in it. So I definitely, definitely think that's a beautiful title. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit about that. I hope it gives the viewers and the potential backers and anyone who gets the book a more sense of like meaning when they finally get that book and understand more about the passion that's being put into not only the book but the collection of art that not only the artwork but the book itself, the title. um, so yeah, now I want to ask a bit more about the context of the book. This is an art of book. For people who are curious, what can they expect from getting this book? Yeah.
Right. So the same way I've paid attention to what people say to describe my work. The point of this book is to me for me to put into words what does that mean, right? Um, I've been exploring techniques, and I've been having experience with the concept artists or digital artists in general. I've been struggling as a human being. I would like to say as an artist, but I think human beings is a broader term that I think applies better to this. And I, I think I found a way to solve many issues that what do what you will get in this book is a compilation of solutions. I'll like to say, not tutorials on how to create noses and eyes, but how to deal with everyday struggles, and at least how I've been dealing with those, in the most effective way I could find out, and that means again, that means like how I came up to build the following I have, how I came up to get the job the jobs I achieve, how I create the way I learn, because again, I didn't went to art school, so I learned through feedback of social interactions, and how I analyze that feedback and how I apply that to my practice, and how I was able to create an habit of everyday practices. Now these days I'm not that active like I used to, but that kind of habit was what allowed me to achieve what I believe I have been able to achieve so far. And it's nothing but a description of those insights, and hopefully I write or I type it down as clear as I could, because again, it's this artistic thing that in which you have an idea of what is clear to you, and then you share it and it doesn't make any sense. But hopefully it's gonna be a very thoughtful and descriptive way in which I solve these artistic and life-like struggles. Yeah, I hope it's different, because I was thinking, what can I say here that other artists haven't said before? And this is the thing, the frame in which you present the information perhaps very similar, at some degree, but what it makes it different is the experience itself from the artist. So because everyone has a different path, right? So I hope these solutions apply to, well, as many people as possible.
No, that I agree. Like, life, it's repetitive. It's the same thing over. We all experience generally the same thing. It's the way we experience it that's different. And regardless if it's been said before, you haven't said it in your own voice. And I think
Right.
that alone is what makes it valuable. Just hearing
Mm.
your own take, your own story. Because there are definitely people out there that want to hear your story, that want to learn from your story. And no matter what it is, they're going to be taking something that they can apply, regardless of, even if it's not direct, even if it's not like one for one or how you expected them to like apply it. Like you said, they might find a different meaning behind it and it can benefit them in a different way. So, regardless, I think it's going to be so, so valuable. So, yeah, one last question. And this is about your advice for aspiring artists.
Mhm.
Obviously, the book is gonna go deeper, and if they want, they can read more about more of like the advice and stuff. But if there is one advice that you would have that you would like to share to an artist out there who watched this interview and is like, oh my gosh, such an inspiration. I want to be like him. I want to grow up to be like him. What advice would that be?
It's a very simple one. Buy my book.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, end of interview. Thank you so much for watching.
You're welcome.
That's, yeah.
Well,
Just buy his book.
I guess. Well, the advice is, I think it's a very straightforward one, but it's not a simple one, because it's always moving. Which is knowing yourself, right? So the best you know yourself. How do I know myself? Someone's gonna ask, oh, why? What does that mean? It's like basically ask questions. Like just ask questions, because we don't get to use our thought too much. It's like we just act because we're reacting to all kind of issues we have, right? But when you see it for a second and you ask, why I feel this way? Why do I like that? Why I don't like that? Why I want to do this? And then you have like a existential crisis, which is bad. But if you don't, and you ask some thoughtful questions, at least in the directions you want to go, that's gonna help you greatly. And the second part of that advice will be to make very very small steps in a daily basis, like very small, because one of the things I believe block many artists is this overwhelming feeling of of the challenge, like this is so big, I'm not gonna be able to finish it, or I'm never gonna be this good, I'm never gonna be whatever you want to excuse put in there. And many of the things that you like, I would say the most important I think, quality into achieving whatever you want to do, even the greatest thing you can imagine. Is just making very, very small steps toward that direction. Of course, it's not like, it depends on, everyone is different. Like I didn't plan my my career when I was young. I still end up here. Some people are more methodic. Maybe they prefer to create a schedule and try to define like what they're gonna do the first week, the first month, the first year, whatever. That's very useful as well, because it helps you visualize your goal better. But whatever your approach is, just sit for 30 minutes at the day, maybe in the morning, like the part of the day in which you feel fresh enough, or even if you're tired, but at least 15 minutes or 10 minutes in which you just make drawings, like just pick a picture, take a picture from your phone, or just watch somebody, watch your kids, watch your dog, go outside for a walk and draw whatever. And those small steps are the ones who are gonna put you very, very far away, where you thought you would not be able to reach out. You will barely notice. When it's like, basically, when you look back, it's like, oh, I didn't know it was that bad. but because you achieved this, you were able to build this habit of doing art every day. So you know yourself, and you create the habit. Basically, you're gonna be unstoppable, I think. I don't know. I hope it makes sense.
No, definitely. Totally agree with you. As you said, it's all about like asking those questions, especially to yourself, and understanding yourself, because if you don't understand yourself, how are you going to make art that you want to make, right? And then this, like you said, sometimes you don't have to know where to start, just start. And then you ask questions after, you analyze after. But like if you
Right.
sit there thinking, but you're not going to start. So definitely.
Exactly. Yeah,
Thank you
it
so
need to be a
much.
mix. It need to be a mix of both, and then knowing yourself, task is also an habit of every day, because you're always changing creature. You're not stay the same all the time. So whatever you like today, in a few years, months, it's gonna be like useless, because I don't really like that anymore. So checking yourself constantly as well can allow you to change directions when you're miserable, for example, because maybe let's say you're a very talented guy and you're very smart, and then you get that job at Riot, like, what happened to me, very talented, smart, all those amazing stuff. So then you start to become miserable, because you stop to you stop checking yourself, and it's like, okay, I got the job, I got the payment, why do I feel this bad? That's part of what happened to me. Why do I feel this miserable? Like, I have everything I have, but because I never asked these questions, I was like, I have already everything that I thought I wanted, but I didn't knew me at all. So it wasn't after I stopped working there and I started to I had all kind of different challenges. When I saw in perspective, I noticed like it really doesn't matter if you get the top job, which is great. It makes you feel great. If you are not aware of what do you really, what really drives you, if you don't have a balance in your everyday life, like you can get the top G job, but if you doesn't understand the thing that fulfill you, you are gonna be miserable, because perhaps what fulfills you is not the job. It's like just sharing a little bit with your mother, with your brother, with your wife, or whatever. That nothing related to the job itself, and that's gonna bring more value to your art, because it's not the job itself. It's the experiences you have with other human beings, or with nature, or whatever. A bunch of bullshit, but I think that's like, it's not my opinion. It's like actually what I have
It's the
experienced.
facts,
It's like,
yeah.
it's just the facts. Anyways.
Love that. No, thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure this was a very informative interview for me, so I'm sure it was informative for people listening as well. I'm so excited for the book. Cannot wait, and yeah, thank you so much.